I'm going to show you how to make a natural looking cone and cylinder. The cone and the cylinder have round circles on the top and the bottom if you were looking straight down at them. But because we're looking over the side, those circles on the top and the bottom become ellipses. The more you're looking, they're closer to your eye, you're looking straight at them, you're going to see a thin ellipse, and as they move down, the ellipse will get a little bit bigger. And if you're looking down on top of something, it will get rounder and rounder. So on these examples, this one has a pretty big ellipse. This one has a really thin ellipse. This one is a little bit in between. And this one, we're looking straight at it from our eyes, so we can hardly see the top at all on that one. But by the time we get to the bottom of this cone, we have a nice round ellipse at the bottom. So it will change depending on how you're looking at it. So if you're looking at something that is cone-shaped, you want to notice how thick is this going to be. I'm going to draw one that's going to look a little bit like this. When we do a cone or a cylinder, we start with a rectangle. This is the top of the can or cylinder, and so I'm going to make that ellipse. I'm going to mark, I want it fairly thin, so I'm going to mark the top and the bottom of the ellipse in the middle. This will be a little bigger, this might be the same or even a little bit smaller. It will never be bigger because it's farther away. We always need to make sure we have rounded corners, so I'm going to make a little round thing here to remind me to get those round. And starting at that rounded part, I'm going to gradually move up until I get to that center. It should never be flat here. It should be going down afterwards, but it's very gradual. This takes a few tries to get it nice and smooth. This side should look the same as that side. Again, a rounded corner here. And then gradually getting wider till it hits that middle part that we marked. And we have an ellipse. Rounded corners, no flat sides, rounded bottom and rounded top. So it's rounded all the way through. Down here, when I make the ellipse, I'm going to make it a little bit bigger because I'm looking down a little farther. So I'm going to make it there and about there. I think it's easier to get your ellipse if you even draw this part that you can't see. Again, we make sure we have rounded corners here on each side, and then we gradually come up to the top, making sure we have a rounded corner. Takes me a few tries to get it just right. I'm going to erase some of those extra lines. And I should have the bottom ellipse a little bit rounder right here. Now I can go and I can erase this extra line here. I can erase my line through the middle here. And I have a little light there, so I want to make sure you can see it. And I have a natural looking cylinder. A couple of things you want to make sure you don't do when you do these. That ellipse never has pointed, no leaf shapes. See how that kind of is pointed on those two corners? It's nice and round here, but it's very pointed here, and that's not good. So no pointed corners like a leaf. And you want no flat sides, no hot dogs. We don't want a hot dog on the top, and we don't have a leaf on the top. To make the cone, we do the same thing here. I'm going to mark where the bottom of I'm going to do it the same as this one. Make it the bottom of this one. Make a round edge. I'll mark the top too. I like to do both just to make sure this ellipse looks right. sure we have a nice round corner. No flat edges. Make sure it's round here too. Then I can erase those. And I have a nice bottom. To draw the point, we can't just put the point anywhere. A good cone will have the point right in the middle. So I'm going to measure this. 2.5. Half of 2.5 is 1.25. So I'm going to, that's about right. Make sure it's the same on both sides. Pretty close. Right there. So then, now that I know where the middle of the rectangle, I can go from this corner here, find that same corner that we marked of the rectangle, erase out the extra lines, and we have a cone. Important things to remember: always start with a rectangle on both of them. The cone, the point should be right in the middle of the rectangle. Otherwise, you're going to get a tilty cone. Make sure that you don't have any corners, no flat edges for hot dogs, no leaves. Make sure it's make sure that this part right here is maybe even a little smaller, but no bigger than the bottom side here. And make sure that the ellipse on the bottom is going to be a little bit bigger, wider than the one on the top.